Sorry, we're starting late. We were delayed by discussions we were having in chambers with the evidence leaders, some of them. You're still under oath?
Yes,
Major
Chairperson.
General? Mr. Mpembe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Very briefly.
Sorry,
Yeah.
proceed with the cross-examination. As is your custom, I take it you wish to give us a situational report
Yes.
on what happened in the High Court yesterday.
Thank you,
I think some
Chairperson.
of us may have read it in the newspaper, but it's probably appropriate that you should tell us here in the chamber so that it's on record.
To put it on the record formally, Chairperson, yes. Well, happily, Chairperson, I've finished my cross-examination, so I'll only do the situational appropriateness report for now. I'll only do the situational appropriateness report, Chairperson. Chairperson, yes. The report that we promised you and the commissioners on Tuesday is that indeed yesterday we went to court, and we can safely report, Chairperson, that since we raised, Mr. Ntsebe's and I raised the issue of funding on the 1st of October last year, we can today announce that it's finally over. That long fight is over now. In that yesterday an order was granted, 2 orders were granted. One was for granting legal aid, the Legal Aid South Africa leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and simultaneously another order was granted in our favor, lifting the automatic suspension of the judgment. We should otherwise follow the granting of the leave to appeal. In simple terms, what that means is that the appeal will take its life in the SCA, probably might even end up in the Constitutional Court. We don't know. But from our point of view, as far as the Marikana Commission is concerned, Legal Aid South Africa will continue to pay for the legal assistance of our clients until the end of the commission. So to that extent, then it's a happy ending. Thank you very much, Chairperson. And we want to thank you, Chairperson.
Until the end of the commission, or until the judgment is given?
Whichever comes first. I suspect the one that will...
I take it, I'm speaking on your behalf as well as my own, that I hope the commission will have concluded its labours and given its report by that time.
Yes, Chairperson, firstly, we are confident that we will win the appeal, but in the unlikely event that we don't, you will see that from now on my cross-examination is going to be very quick, Chairperson, so that we can finish the commission before the appeal is ahead.
Yes, well, I know how anxious you are always to keep to your promises, and so I note that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Chairperson.
I understand. No, I know how the delays that are involved in getting matters ready for hearing in the SCA and so on. But also in your confidence that you will succeed, notice the judge thought it was possible. The reason it was another court might come to a different conclusion. But anyway, we will see in due course what the SCA makes of the matter.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. On a
Thank you for your report. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. On a more serious note, I'd like really to thank the Chairperson and the commissioners for understanding, as I said, from day one, the plight that we placed in front of the commission, although we also understood that your own hands were tied, and also to thank the other parties who assisted us, either actively supporting us or simply taking a neutral stance. All those, I think, added to the ultimate success of that little fight. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you. For a moment, I thought that you might still come back and ask some further questions in cross-examination that you thought of after your victory yesterday, but apparently you haven't thought of any.
Well, given the new...
I don't want to give you a chance.
Given my new dispensation of being brief, I'm not asking any further questions, Chairperson.
Yes, I'm interested to hear you describe it as a new dispensation, but let's hope it's a permanent dispensation. Mr. Matabedi, you've got some re-examination for the witness, I understand.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
General Mpembe, you were criticized for having been a sideline token overall commander. Is such criticism fair?
No, Chairperson.
Why do you say so?
Chairperson, there was no a stage during the operation that I could see Major General Annandale giving me a defiance. He was always humble. He was always listening to my instructions. And with regard to Lieutenant General Mbombo, I was giving her always the feedback, and it was always in my belief that she regards me as the Sijok.
General, was Lieutenant Colonel Vermaak present during the JOCOM meetings?
Yes, Chairperson.
Did he at any stage indicate his unhappiness or concerns regarding the manner in which the planning and the operation was unfolding?
No, Chairperson.
In case he had such, concerns or unhappiness, did anything precluded him from raising such concerns or unhappiness?
No, Chairperson.
During the JOCOM meeting, had he raised such concerns or unhappiness, what would have happened?
Chairperson, it could have been entertained, and he could have been listened to, and it could have been debated, and the final decision being taken.
General, who led the police delegation during the meeting that was held between Lone Min management and the representatives of both unions? So on the 15th.
Chairperson is myself, as a Sijok commander.
I'm referring to the afternoon meeting.
Correct, Chairperson. I led the police delegation.
Why did you lead the delegation of the police?
It was me who requested the Lone Min mine to make the arrangement, and as a Sijok, I also lead that delegation when the meeting was going to take place.
I take it actually goes further than that. You told us you specifically requested General Annandale to chair the JOCOM inter alia because you wanted to concentrate, amongst other things, on involving management and the trade unions, because you saw that as a possible way of bringing the problem to an end. Is that correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. General, without precise and full particulars of where the protesters were staying, was it possible for the police to conduct any raids?
Chairperson, I just wanted the clarity, maybe, if the question can be repeated.
The question is that without precise and full particulars of where the protesters were staying, was it possible for the police to conduct any raids?
No, Chairperson, except maybe if we were at least being given that we could apply Section 13.7. But even though we were not even given that where they could be staying.
During the meeting that occurred on the 15th, was there any undertaking by Mr. Zokwana that he will revert back to you with any details and particulars of where some of the protesters were staying?
Repeat the question. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's my fault, but I'm not sure I understood it. So could you repeat it, please?
During the meeting of the 15th in the evening, was there any undertaking by Mr. Zokwana that he will revert back to you with the particulars or details of where any of the protesters were staying?
No, Chairperson.
What about Mr. Matunjwa?
No, Chairperson, Mr. Matunjwa only indicated that at 9 o'clock the protesters will lay down their weapons.
What was your understanding regarding the report back that Mr. Matunjwa made to you as to what would happen the next day, that would be on the 16th in the morning.
Chairperson, I'm just requesting the question be repeated.
My question is, what was your understanding regarding the report that Mr. Matunjwa made as what would have happened in the morning at 9 o'clock, the 16th?
Chairperson, the understanding was that the protesters will lay down their weapons at 9 o'clock.
Did you expect that Mr. Matunjwa will go and meet management instead of going to the copy in the morning at 9 o'clock on the 16th?
No, Chairperson.
Right. Now, with regard to the plan, did the plan describe how the barbed wire was to be deployed on the 16th?
No, Chairperson.
Now, when Brigadier Khalid deployed the barbed wire sequentially, do you regard that as a deviation from the plan that was agreed upon at the JOC?
No, Chairperson, because then the plan did not prescribe in words how he should have done it.
To the diary of, that is exhibit J1114 of Prinsloo. Do you have a copy with you there?
Correct, Chairperson, I do have a copy.
Now, this diary was used to support the proposition that the plan was still that in the morning on the 16th, encirclement had to be done. Now, will you go to page 1 of the document, paragraph at the bottom? Can you read it into the record?
The one that, is it, or paragraph 1?
No, the one at the bottom, the first page.
I think it's paragraph 12. Is that right, Mr. Matibeli? Is it paragraph 12, the one headed specific instructions of operation?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. Thanks ever so much.
Mine here was not clear, but thanks, Chairperson. It says to deploy wire on command of Lieutenant Colonel Mtimkulu to protesters for purpose...
No, you've left out a word. It's to encircle protesters.
To encircle protesters for the purpose to disarm protesters from dangerous weapons.
Command of Lieutenant Colonel Mtimkulu to block.
On the screen, which is, I don't know, maybe we'd have to have some more evidence about this, but the one on the screen says, in fact, it says encircle as opposed to encircle, but nothing turns on that. But it's definitely the word encircle, I-N-C-I-R-C-L-E.
I think I'll come back to it, Mr. Chairman. Now, you have read this document, is that so?
Correct, Chairperson. I also want to point out something that this one also does not have the encirclement. It has the block that I have, but the one there, it has got the encircle.
Mr. Chairman, I think let me leave this document for now.
Copy of the exhibit that we have says encircle protesters.
Let me leave this document for now. I'll come back to
But what document have you got then, Mr. Matibeli?
It's the operational diary, Pop Springs, it's, yes, it's by Captain Y. Prinsloo. Yes,
The document in question is J 114.
That's correct.
And what we have appears to be a photostat copy of that document. And perhaps it would be easier for the witness if I take out my copy and hand it to him so he can see it. I don't know where the original is of this operational diary, but Major General? No, you don't have to go there. I'm sure someone will give it to you. Not necessarily if you leave your seat. The witness is looking at it at the moment, but you can certainly move on to another topic and come back to this one when you have received instructions and so forth, which will enable you to take it further. I suggest you keep my copy of Exhibit J 114 for the time being, and Mr. Matabedi, when he's ready, will come back to that topic and then presumably take it further. But don't lose it, because I want it back when you finish with it.
Yes, Chairperson, I'll do so.
General, I'm going to refer you to slide 191. Now, looking at this slide, if the plan on the 16th in the morning was to encircle the copy, how and where should the Nyalas have been positioned?
Chairperson, they should have positioned also around the copy to show that when the encirclement takes place, they could be readily available.
Thanks. Now, on the 16th, how many times and at what time did you meet Mr. Matunjwa?
Chairperson, I met Mr. Matunjwa twice on the 16th.
At what time was the meeting?
I met Mr. Matunjwa when I introduced him to the provincial commissioner. And later I met him when he came from addressing the protesters.
Now, did Mr. Matunjwa at any time give you a feedback emanating from the protesters at the copy?
No, Chairperson. He said that he wanted to talk to the provincial commissioner.
Sorry, Mr. According to Matunjwa's evidence, he came to you to ask for the transport on the second occasion to the copy. And you said there was no transport, and you saw the vetoes, and you said there were no keys. What occasion was that?
Chairperson, it was before he went to the copy. It was after I have introduced him to the provincial commissioner.
General, after the second visit to the copy by Mr. Matunjwa, is there anything that prohibited him from giving a feedback to Brigadier Khalid or to the JOC?
No, Chairperson.
What was the attitude of Lone Min management regarding going to the copy and addressing the protesters?
Chairperson, I know Mr. Mokoena, according to 004, that they will speak to the protesters if it is in the safe
Chairperson,
environment.
I'm sorry, General. Chairperson, I don't want to interrupt my learned colleague, but I was debating the previous question, not this one, about what prevented Mr. Matunja from giving feedback to Brigadier Khalid. I just want to place on record, Chairperson, that there is evidence that indeed Mr. Matunja did give feedback to Brigadier Khalid. I had a video to that effect. I only did not play it because Colonel Scott agreed that is what had happened. But if I just want to place that on record. Maybe we'll do it when Brigadier Khalid himself testifies.
Yeah,
but
that seems essential, but when Brigadier Khalid comes,
yes, we
presumably
can clarify
this will
that
be one
point.
of the matters that you'll
Yes.
ask him about if someone else hasn't asked him about it
Yes,
first.
thank you, Chairperson.
General, had Lone Min management made a request to the police that they would like to go to the copy, they needed police protection, what would the attitude of the police have been?
Chairperson, we could have escorted them as we did with the unions.
General, does Standing Order 262 require a member to give a verbal warning or any communication when acting in self or private defense?
No, Chairperson.
Now, with regard to the telephonic communication that you had with the PC on the 15th, can you vividly remember in chronological order the content of each and every telephone call that you made or received?
Chairperson, I just wanted the question should be, would I remember the content of what I said? Or no, Chairperson.
Do you know at what time the extraordinary meeting of the National Management Forum ended on the 15th?
No, Chairperson, I normally do not attend those meetings. No, I do not know, Chairperson.
Are there any requirements for a member of POP to be a commander?
Yes, Chairperson. Amongst the others, they undergo public order policing training.
And the training entails what?
The training entails compliance to the policies starting from the Constitution, Standing Order itself, national instructions, the Regulation of Gatherings Act. It also entails the modes according to crowd management policies.
Was there anything wrong in using a Fanagalo interpreter provided by Lone Min on the 16th?
No, Chairperson. At that time, we utilized any resources that was at our disposal for the purpose of solving the problem.
During the JOCO meetings, were any financial implications or constraints discussed regarding the operations that was undertaken at Marikana?
No, Chairperson.
Did the plan prohibit the arrest of any protesters where there was evidence that an offense or crime had been committed other than being in possession of unlawful, dangerous weapon?
No, Chairperson. As I said, for the arresting, the police officials who executed the arrest, they know exactly why they arrested the people.
General, I'm going to refer you to the call-up letter dated the 12th of August 2012 that was written by General Anandale, that is Exhibit HH69. you have a copy?
I've got it, Chairperson.
You will see there it's headed Call-Up Specialized Operations Long Min Mine Northwest, 12 August 2012 to 17 August. Is there anything unusual or curious in the fact that the call-up says the duration will be from the 12th of August to the 17th of August?
No, Chairperson. It is a standard procedure that the people are called up for a certain date, and if that time they're still needed, the call-up gets extended.
General, during any JOCO meeting, did the names of Mr. Julius Malema, Mr. Themba Godi, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and the Minister of Police feature at all?
Any what meeting?
JOCO meetings.
JOCO meeting.
No, Chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask for a brief adjournment just to attend to the exhibit relating to
how long do you
Captain
want?
Prinsloo. About 10 minutes.
We will adjourn now for 10 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Mission resumed. I understand, Mr. Mpembe, that you're now ready to continue with your re-examination. Is that correct?
General, I'm going to refer. You will note that paragraph 12 of the document mentions encircle. Do you see that? Sorry,
Yes, Chairperson.
Triple J 114, paragraph 12.
Yes, Chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, we are going to introduce an exhibit which is the statement of Captain Prinsloo, which has been discovered to the evidence leaders. No.
Has the witness had an opportunity to see it beforehand?
He did, Mr. Chairman.
I see. Very well. Thank you. What exhibit will this be? Exhibit
Chair, Triple H 70.
70.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I suggest that, Chair, it's another version of Triple J 114. It might be better to call it Triple J 114A. Oh, it's a statement. I apologize. I withdraw that suggestion.
What?
Triple H 70.
Triple H 70 is the statement of Yolanda Prinsloo, who is a captain in the South African Police Service.
But we gave them, no, but we gave them notice that.
The date of the statement. And the copy I've been given also contains a statement of someone described as Dr. Mthimkhulu, but I take it that's his name. He's Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Mthimkhulu. Is that going to be handed in next?
That's correct, Mr.
So
Chairman.
shall we mark that as why we in exhibit marking mode? Shall we mark it? It'll be 88871. I take it.
We have a difficulty. We understand this was on the hard drive. We're told by our colleagues, but we don't have a copy. We don't know where to find it. We can't follow the evidence.
Mr. Chairman, I think we indicated, I think was it on Tuesday, that the captain has made a statement. Not only that, I also spoke to my colleague, Mr. Wesley. I indicated to him that he should give other parties notice that we're going to use the statement.
There appears to have been some kind of slip twixt the cup and the lip on this particular one. So I'll tell you what we do. We'll have another short adjournment. In fact, let's take the tea adjournment now. And this whole question can be sorted out during the tea adjournment, and then we can come back and proceed in a
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
What I've done is I've marked Triple H as Triple H71, a statement headed warning statement, which is made by Lieutenant Colonel, I don't know if I called him something else, but he's Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Paulus Mthimkhulu. And then we have the statement of Captain Prinsloo, in manuscript, I think, in handwriting, and then a typed version of the same statement. It says dated November. The date hasn't been filled in, but the handwritten one has been signed by Captain Prinsloo. So let me get that done. Statement of Captain Yolanda Prinsloo, dated November 2013. Yeah. And Triple H 71 is a warning statement of Lieutenant Colonel Mtimkulu. Dated, also the full date we haven't got, but it is signed by him, and it's August 2012. On that note, we will take the tea adjournment. Commission resumes. Are the logistical problems now sorted out, Mr. Mpembe?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to put it on record that the statement that I used this morning to ask the witness questions was discovered and given to Advocate Wesley last year in October. So, the diary. So at the time that 114, Triple J 114 was used to cross-examine General Mpembe, the evidence leader had been in possession of the statement. The diary, sorry.
Chair, can I just say that the difficulty is caused by the fact that there are two versions of the operational diary J114, which is one version of which is in as Triple J114. It's absolutely correct that we have over time been provided with both versions, but nobody was aware, of course, that there were two different versions. But the difficulty is, as I say, there are two versions, and that may or may not be necessary to investigate at some time how that came about. But our learned friend is correct that we have managed to find the other version as well.
So do you tell me that, am I told that there is a document in the handwriting of Captain Prinsloo which uses the word in circles, which is her operational diary. Then there's another copy of the same document, also in her handwriting, which has presumably been which is first, of course, is maybe a matter of debate, but which uses the word block.
That's correct, Chair. There are two versions, and one, it has been rewritten at some point or another.
Well,
whichever was the first has been rewritten as the second.
Yeah, well, obviously, it'd be interesting to know why anyone would have rewritten this document to substitute the word in circle for the word block. But I could understand possibly the other. But anyway, these are matters which will hopefully become clear to us in the passage of time.
Are we favoured with a copy of the one that says block? Is it intended to put it before us?
The one which says block, which will, I think, now be handed in as an exhibit so that the commissioners will have both versions. We've just had copies made.
This one. Can we just clarify something? The document that says block, is that an extract from the operational diary, or is it the statement that the chairman has marked Triple H 70?
Chair, it's another version of the operational diary. They're both called operational diary.
Right, then we don't have that.
No, you don't have it. It's about to be handed in.
And Mr. Chairman, the other aspect is that the one that we seek to introduce now as an exhibit also has a signature of Ms. Mtimkulu, who was the senior to the commander of Captain Prinsloo. And the one that was used to cross-examine the witness does not have the signature of Mtimkulu.
And can you help us with the date on Triple H 70, Mr. Matibede?
So 70 or this 70 or sorry. No, does not have a date.
And this has just been discovered today, Mr. Badlender? Triple H 70.
I think, Commissioner, it was probably part of the iPad bundle. I think that's where it's to be found. But, yeah. It looks like an iPad document.
I call this, I suppose I can't call it the second version because we don't know which is first and which is second, but this additional version of the operational diary. The first one was Triple J 114. Is Triple J 115 open?
Chair, we were going to suggest Triple J 114A.
All right.
It's two versions of the same
Triple
document.
J 1. Well, yes, Triple J 114 capital A is another version of Captain Prinsloo's operational diary. For 16/8/2012, and I'll mark that triple J114 capital A.
Different OB numbers as well. It's not as though it's the same document with just a different, with one word being changed. Mr. Matibedi?
That's correct.
Yeah, well, this is a document that gives rise to all sorts of questions, but obviously it's not appropriate for us to ask those questions now or seek answers to them. At some stage, obviously, they'll be investigated. And the results will be given to us, and, but for the moment, you want to proceed with your re-examination.
General, you were cross-examined on an exhibit triple J114, paragraph 12, the crux thereof indicates that the instruction was to encircle. Can you see that?
Yes, Chairperson, I can see it.
Now, I'm going to refer you to exhibit triple J114A, paragraph 12. Can you read that into the record?
I take it he's not going to read the whole document, just going to read paragraph 12.
Paragraph 12, thanks.
To deploy wire on command of Lieutenant Colonel Mtimkulu to block protesters for purposes to disarm protesters from dangerous weapons.
Now, having read paragraph 12 of both the statement, of the operational diary, which one is consistent with the instructions or which is consistent with the plan that was to be, that was to unfold on the 16th?
Chairperson, it will be triple J114A.
Now, I'm going to refer you to an unsigned, undated statement of Captain Prinsloo, which is triple H70. More specifically, the unnumbered paragraph 3. Do you have that?
Correct, Chairperson. I do have the statement of Captain Prinsloo.
Forgive my being unkind, but is it appropriate to put in an unsigned statement? Once we're going to have a lot of unsigned statements, there can be all sorts of arguments about their value and so on. I understand a signed statement.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's signed, it's not dated.
Oh, it's not dated. I'm sorry, I'm wrong then. Ignore what I've just said. But it is unfortunate it wasn't dated, of course. But that's a matter that can also be explored.
Now, I'm referring you to the unnumbered paragraph 3 from the 4th line. Can you read that into the record?
Chairperson, the one that I do have is numbered paragraph 3.
Okay. The manuscript one, the handwritten one?
No, it's a type 1.
No, I'm referring to the unsigned one. Sorry, the manuscript one, the signed one. The handwritten one, sorry. Do you have the statement now?
Yes, Chairperson, I do have.
Now, would you go to the unnumbered paragraph 3, the 4th line, and read that into the record?
Chairperson, it reads as follows. My duty was to block with the wire on instruction to create an action zone for the role players involved in the operation and to prevent participants from, I don't know whether it's exercise or from entering with SAPS operations or interfering with SAPS operation.
Thanks. Thanks. Now, General, I'm going to refer you to...
Are you moving away from these documents?
Thanks.
Are you going to refer to any of the entries that appear on the pages following the first of the operational diaries?
No.
There are some differences which between the entries on Triple J 114 and Triple J 114A. I appreciate these are questions that can more properly, I suppose, be directed to Captain Prinsloo, but are you not going to deal with them at all with the present witness?
Not with this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything that indicates when these operational diaries, both the A and the 114, Triple J, were actually completed? And while you're there, have you any idea what the two that's ringed on the top right-hand corner of Triple J 114A refers to?
A, the date appearing there, it's both the 16th, where Captain Prinsloo has signed, and also where Mtimkulu has signed. And Triple J 114, there is no date on this document.
Are you referring to the third page of Triple J 114?
That's correct.
What's the date again? What's the date on this? This one. So, where does the date appear on page 3? Of Triple J 114?
Does not have a date.
But you say 114A does?
Yes.
Yes, I see that. Thank you very much. And the two that's encircled on the right-hand top corner of 114A, have you any idea what that refers to?
I don't have any idea. I think I'll take instructions on this aspect.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks. General, I'm going to refer you to the warning statement of Dr. Paulus Mtimkulu, which is Triple H71. Well, he's not a medical doctor, it is his name, doctor. Now, I'm going to specifically refer you to paragraph 2 of the statement. Can you read that into the record?
I'm so sorry we missed that. Whose statement are you referring to, Mr. Matsubiri? I beg your pardon. Thank you.
Will you read paragraph 2 into the record, General?
Yes, Chairperson, it reads as follows. On Thursday, 16 August 2012, I reported for duty at the Lonmin Jock at 600 hours for crowd management. I was posted as an assistant company commander of Colonel Makubele with 6 nyalas and barbed wire cuts. Our task was to line up the barbed wire between the protesters and the line-up police formation to protect the police from being attacked by the protesters.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm moving away from this point.
Yes, thank you.
General, I'm going to deal now with the incident of the 13th. Now, you will remember that it was put to you that the protesters did not receive medical attention or treatment. Do you remember that?
Correct, Chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, I've arranged with the technician, I'm going to ask that they should play Exhibit Z1 starting from 2525 to 2555.
Yes, I don't think any warning is required, is it?
It's not required.
The time is now. 12:45.
Okay. When you are there. Thanks. General, to you, do you confirm that this frame relates to the incident of the 13th?
Correct, Chairperson.
Now, will you describe what you saw on that frame?
Chairperson, I saw medical paramedics attending to one of the protesters. And I remember Mr. Henry Blow, he was with me on that day, and I saw him on the video.
Thanks. I'm going to introduce a document which is a revised version of Exhibit QQ. QQ2, all the parties had...
This is now the agreed version of the translation of the transcript of what was said at the railway line on the 13th. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And so we'll keep the... what's the Ms. Piller? What's the description?
Chair, this document would be Exhibit QQ 2.1.
Why 2.1? 2 is the original. I see. We can't take it out because it was used in evidence. So we can't just substitute the one for the other. So, I see. Thank you. And this is now, so I would note that Exhibit QQ 2.1, revised version of transcript of speeches, of revised version of transcript of words recorded as part of, what's the videos exhibit?
Z1.
Of video exhibit, the revised version of transcript of words recorded as part of no, it's actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting it wrong. It's revised version of translated transcript of words used as part of video exhibit Z.1. And then I record translation accepted by the parties. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
General, it was put to you that the strikers had decided that they were going to give you the weapons at the copy, at the stadium, or wherever. Do you remember that?
Yes, Chairperson, I do remember the question.
Now, I would like to refer you to QQ 2.1. That would be page 7, right at the bottom. Are you there?
Yes, Chairperson.
Now, the last line that starts with we, going over to the second line of page 8. Can you read that into the record?
We will take a decision whether we are handing over these weapons or not.
Now, from the reading of what you have just read, is this consistent with the version that the protesters had agreed that they were going to hand over the weapons to you at the copy?
No, Chairperson, because it says whether we are handing over these weapons or not.
If you can go back to page 7, can you identify the speaker?
Chairperson is Loanman Worker 1.
Matibedi, the extract you refer to, it's actually on page 8, isn't it? And the one sentence you particularly refer to is on page 8. Yeah.
That's correct.
So you may have said this already, I may have missed it, but do I understand that the passages in heavy type constitute alterations from the original transcript we received? Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair. There are some additional comments which haven't been stated in bold, but in the main, yes.
Sorry, you say there are additional that haven't been put in bold, but everything that is in bold is an alteration from the original transcript we received. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Will you proceed and read the remainder of the paragraph?
Chairperson, it reads as follows: you must come back with a person of the mind that we want, the umlungu of the mind, who is supposed to give us a response regarding the money that we want. That is all that we want. We are not fighting with anybody. The only person we are at loggerheads with is the one who is assaulting, in brackets, beating us up.
So before we carry on, I noticed that at the end of the sentence which begins, the umlungu of the mine, who's supposed to give us a response regarding the money that's spent, is a question mark, which makes it look as if the words who is supposed to give us a response regarding the money we want is a question. But it sounds to me from the context, or it looks to me from the context, as if that question mark is a mistake. Because if you read the sentence as a whole, the Mlungu of the mine, who is supposed to give us the response regarding the money we want, that's all that we want, it looks as if that expression, phrase, clause, who is supposed to give us a response regarding the money we want, is a relative clause defining the Mlungu of the mine, and isn't actually a question. But that's just an impression I have. Those who speak also and have heard the original will be able to tell us whether that question mark is correctly placed there. Can you help me on that, Mr. Mpembe?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, I'm not in a position to assist. The translation was not done by us.
Yeah, Chairperson, yeah, if I may assist, yeah, I think the Chairperson is correct. The who is supposed to give us the responses is defining the Mlungu. In other words, the Mlungu of the mine, who is supposed to give us. So I think the dots and the question mark, maybe if they can be taken out.
Chair, may I suggest that before we do that the evidence leaders come back to you on this point.
Okay.
This was done with an interpreter. So we would make sure that listening to the audio that corresponds
Yes, okay.
to what you
Well, let's not make a hasty decision on the point now. We will keep the point in reserve, and at some stage, are you receiving instructions, Ms. Pillay, from? I must say, as my colleague, Advocate Court, it doesn't make sense if you insert a question in the middle of it. But let's not be hasty. Over the lunch adjournment, perhaps those who are familiar with Foster can listen to it again and tell us, and then we can be clear on the point.
But Mr. Chairman, I think Mr. Mpembe is correct. This is, if you take the whole context, it's correct.
And there's nothing wrong with the interpretation. It's just the punctuation here.
Advocate Hemrich points out to me there seems to be a problem also with the question as to whether the words in bold on QQ 2.1 are all alterations, because she's been comparing with the original. But again, that's something that can be discussed outside the chamber, and we can get agreement on it. But so for the moment, we'll proceed on the basis that question mark may be incorrect, and that we can't assume that everything in bold in QQ 2.1 is necessarily an alteration. But for the moment, but otherwise, you'll carry on with the document.
Thanks. General, did the strikers direct any demand to you?
Chairperson, according to QQ 2.1, it says, you must come back with the person of the mine that we want. On that aspect, you'll say there was a condition that I must come back with the person of the mine.
Did you have the powers to force the employer to go to the copy and address the strikers?
No, Chairperson, not the powers to force, but I did persuade them to go there, but they did give me the answer.
You tried to persuade them, but you failed, as far as I can understand.
Yes,
It wasn't your fault, but you did try, you say.
Yes, Chairperson.
So, Chairperson, once again, I don't want to interrupt. It is either, but I will, yes. Chairperson, I'd like either to reserve our right to cross-examine on this new material, or to clarify a particular point right now regarding what has been raised, which is a misleading question. I will suggest is a misleading question.
Tell me what the misleading question is.
Yes.
So your learned friend can then hear what you have to say.
Yes, thank you,
He may
Chairperson.
either agree,
Or
reformulate
not
his question,
agree.
alternatively, he may deny the allegation of misleading. So let's
Yes.
hear your complaint.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, it pertains not to this question, to the one just before, about the suggestion that the decision whether to hand over the weapons or not would be taken later. In other words, it would be suspended, which is quite true, as Mr. Matibedi suggested, from page 7 to 8, from so-called Loan Min Worker 1. But to leave it at that is misleading, Chairperson, because if you go to page 10, Loan Min Worker 2 says that we have spoken that these things that you want, meaning the weapons, we will relinquish them there at that place to which we are going, which is the mountain. So this is obviously a different emphasis about, rather than saying we
So
will.
if he was to phrase the question on the basis that what he put previously was said by one of the spokespersons of the group,
Yeah.
and just put on that basis, then you wouldn't have a problem.
Yes, Chairperson. Yes, I wouldn't, but just for completion.
You already made the point that.
Yes,
somebody else
no,
is
I want
saying
to refer Chairperson to another extract.
right.
At the bottom of the.
But Mr. Mpofu,
I would
so-
be grateful if the person's cell phone, that is, would turn it off, and everyone else who's got a cell phone on would please turn them off. And otherwise, I'd have to ask the people concerned to leave the chamber.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had to ask myself to leave the
if I can
chamber
just
because
finish
mine
my
was off.
point.
But everyone else's cell phones are here in the chamber. Please check that they've been turned off, because it's very disturbing when they go off in the middle of a question. Mr.
Yes,
Mpofu,
Chairperson, I
after that
just wanted
interruption,
to-
can you carry on, please? What you want to tell us?
Yes, I just wanted to complete the bottom of that page. The same Loan Min Worker 2 says, "This is our request. We are asking that you accompany us there." Next page 11. "When we get there, we will relinquish the weapons." He says that again. We are not refusing. That's all I want to put on record. And I agree with your Chairperson. If it's reformulated, yes.
The first person did say what counsel has put to the witness, but as long as it's clear that the spokespersons of the group didn't all say the same thing, and then it's okay.
Mr. Chairman, when the general was cross-examined, this version was not put to him. Now, what we are seeking to do is to demonstrate that.
Sorry, I've said you can carry on. The only point made was that Mr. Mpofu says you're relying on worker 1, and you're right in relying on worker 1. Worker 2 appears to say something else, but he put that on record, but that doesn't stop you from carrying on with what worker number 1 said. So I suggest you carry on.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. General, had the employer advised you or advised the police that they were prepared to go to the copy to address workers and requested for security from the police, what would the police attitude have been?
Chairperson, we would have taken them there and escorted them as we did with the union leaders.
General, I'm going to refer you to page 11 of the same document. Against Loan Min Worker 1. Can you read that into the record?
There are two passages from Loan Min Worker 1. I think you'll have to...
The first one, Mr. Chairman.
The first one.
Chairperson, it
About
reads,
line 9 on that page.
yes, Chairperson, it reads as follows. What we are saying is that you let us go to the place where we are gathered, and we will give you our weapons when you bring our employer.
Of this paragraph, is there any demand directed to you by worker number 1?
Yes, Chairperson.
What is the demand?
The last words there when say, when you bring our employer.
Now, in the old, in QQ2, you were cross-examined and refer to a paragraph that is line 15, that is page 11, where it reads as follows: we agreed. Do you see that? By loanmen workers.
Yes, Chairperson, I do see it.
Now, you've had the opportunity of reading QQ2.1. Do these words appear therein?
We can see for ourselves. Let's just cut it short while he's looking. Page 12, General, got it? If you look at QQ2, you'll see the corresponding passage after the Mr. Masenya has stopped speaking. I take it, was the videographer. You are reported in QQ2 as having said, I'm going to take those spears, and in QQ 2.1, you say, may I take those spears, and this, I take it, is the agreed translation of what you said. Then in QQ 2, the Lonman workers are reported as having said, we agreed, and you were questioned about that. What now appears from QQ 2.1 is a different translation of what was said, namely, never, never, you're mad. Now, as far as I can see, as Mr. Budlander improperly states, somewhat different. Now, what did they say? Did they say, never, never, you're mad? Or did they say, we agreed, we agreed?
I don't remember, Chairperson, but maybe if it can be played again. But
play it again, Sam. Find that, Mr. Operator. Perhaps someone can help us, tell us where in the, it's Exhibit Z1, I think, isn't it? Where in Exhibit Z1 it is. It seems to be quite an important point, because there was an allegation that there was an agreement, alternatively an understanding on the part of the workers that there was an agreement, which they reflected by saying what they said. But if the new translation is correct, then that cross-examination loses a lot of its force. Perhaps Mr. Wesley can go and with his usual expertise and help the operator to find this passage in Z1.
So, Chair, this version which is being put to the witness now was distributed for comment, and parties were told if they had any disagreement with it, they should speak or forever hold their peace.
Yeah, well, that's what you said, but I would. It's an important point, and without intending any disrespect, I think it's only right that the witness, because I asked the witness and he said he can't remember, he'd like to hear the words. So seems a fair request from him. So.
Not cooperating, then I am still continuing the footage, but I'm cutting this for a moment.
Is that the relevant piece, General?
after counting, I just wanted to hear their response.
No, it's according to the transcript, it's before you said, yes, I'm counting now, I'm counting. They either said, we agreed, or they said, never, never, you're mad. So perhaps the operator can go back just a little bit. I would suggest we start with the comment by Mr. Masenyo, I think was the videographer, which is in English, I take it. Which I take it's in English, and then we will know the passage that's important is the bit just after that.
Then I am still continuing the footage, but I'm cutting this for a moment.
Well, you direct the thing from your microphone. Korte says there's a particular piece that he thinks we should listen to, so he will tell us what it is. The necessary directions to the operator.
Yeah, no, that's just before he says, I'm counting.
Chair, if I could ask the operator to play from 21 minutes.
Negotiate. So these people didn't want to end their weapons. So whatever action that is going to take place is because of they are not cooperating. Then I am still continuing the footage, but I'm cutting this for a moment.
We heard it now, General. Can you help us?
It is the way in which I heard is a mixture of answers. Others are saying, they talk about, I don't know whether it's English, I heard the word greed. The other one says no, no. So there is a mixture of answers.
I must confess, I thought in the middle of the Mosa I heard some English, and it did sound like the word agreed. So it may be that despite the apparent agreement as to the correctness of QQ 2.1, the parties concerned should go back to the drawing board on that particular point, because it may well, it's obviously a point that may well have some substance, and we can't reject it out of hand unless we are absolutely certain as to what was said and what the correct translation is of what was said. And the answer may be that in fact both translations, QQ 2 and QQ 2.1 on this particular point are correct, and that the both things were said, in which case we need a revised transcript which contains both. But anyway, perhaps that's a matter that can stand over for the moment. Mr. Mpembe?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
I'm in your hand. I mean, it's your re-examination, not mine, but I'm just trying to be helpful. But if
I think it should stand over, the parties should attend to this aspect. Now, General,
Mr. Mpofu, remember, time is precious. The SCA will be deciding this case before we finish if you don't look out.
But then we agree, Chairperson.
General, whilst along the railway line talking to the strikers, did you tell Lieutenant Colonel Mirafe that you are going to disarm the strikers, the protesters at the copy?
No, Chairperson.
Now, did any member of the police other than Colonel Mirafe say to you that the protesters should be disarmed then, and sorry, the strikers should be disarmed along the railway line?
No, Chairperson.
Sorry. When you answered and said that you told members of the police to protect the informal settlement, what did you mean by that?
Chairperson, I could have meant that they should also put nyalas. It could actually have meant many things, but one of them could be putting the nyalas in front of the informal settlement. But that could have meant also many things.
Had the protesters acceded to your request that they should lay down their weapons, would the confrontation between the strikers and the police occurred on the 13th?
I think he's dealt with that several times before, you know. He agreed, I think, when he was asked before, that obviously if they handed down their weapons, they wouldn't have been able to use them against the police who were killed. And he has said that several times, but he was afraid that if he, as I understand him, that if he tried to disarm them against their will, there would have been a serious trouble, and that a tiny kind of situation would have recurred. That's your evidence, isn't it?
Correct, Chairperson.
Thanks. General, I'm going to refer you to the transcript. That is day 149, the 15th of November 2010. It's page 11. Do you have a copy of the relevant page?
Which document, Chairperson?
The one-page document that I gave to you this morning. The transcript, the record of the proceedings.
He's supposed to have it, because if he isn't, then perhaps someone can give him a copy. Perhaps, and if alternatively, if somebody knows where his copy is, then perhaps he can be assisted.
Page 15. 149.
Yes, I do have it, Chairperson. Yes, I do have it, Chairperson.
May the technicians please put this relevant page up on the screen. Day 149.
What exactly is the page, and what is the line on that page to which you wish the witness to refer?
Page 15, line 16.
Sorry, page what?
Page 15.
1515.
That's correct.
I think you find page 15 above page 16 on the right-hand side of the page. Is that true?
General, it reads as follows. It's my job as a general, if they do not, yesterday I've been here, President, and you are talking. I think to Mr. Matunjwa, if you see the number of police that are here, it is a lot of money that's been paid, and me as management, I need to produce results, and my results and service is safety and security. So you suggested to Mr. Matunjwa that cost was an issue to you. Do you accept that? And it goes over to the page 16 where your answer is the outcome, Chairman. What did you seek to convey by this answer, the outcome, Chairperson?
The outcome that I seek to convey is that if the protesters could lay down their weapons without any other or without the action of the police forcing them, and the outcome then it will be safety and security, meaning that there will be no one harmed. So in actual fact, I was saying that his assistance will be at most importance.
You did indicate, appear to have indicated, that financial considerations were not entirely irrelevant, because you are reported as having said, having referred to the fact that a lot of money has been paid, and that was said immediately after you referred to the number of police that are here. So is it a correct interpretation of what you said, that financial considerations were not irrelevant?
Yes, I was saying the Chairperson, through his assistance, attaining safety and security as quick as possible. But safety and security, and I was requested to explain what is an outcome, actually, which I was referring to.
Thanks, Mr. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Those are the questions for the witness.
Nothing's still standing over. There is something still standing over, isn't there?
Nothing. It's
Nothing at all.
Save for the aspect of the transcript.
Yes, the transcript, and also. Yes, I see. Yes, and nothing about print slip. Yes, I see. So everything that stood over, apart from what? What's still left? You wanted to park something at one stage. Remember? You asked me. Have you now dealt with? You have fully dealt with it fully.
We've addressed that. It pertained to the diary.
I see. All right. So that's the end of your re-examination.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, as far as you're concerned, the witness can be excused.
That's correct. At long last. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard what your counsel has said. Thank you for your evidence. You're excused on the usual basis that if for some reason something arises and we have to get you back, you'll come back. But subject to that, which I take it you hope won't happen, you're excused. Is that correct?
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Chair.
Mr. Semenya, I understand you're now going to take us to see Nyala with a wired trailer. Is that correct?
With the leave of the chair and the commissioners, yes. We propose to do a simulation of how the barbed wire gets unfurled, as well as to have as close a sense of what it must have felt like being in the Nyala.
Yes, where is this simulation exercise going to take place?
It is a building across the road for the public service sector. It is a walking distance from here.
And how long will the whole operation or exercise take?
My estimation is it would be under 30 minutes.
Under?
Under 30 minutes.
Under 30. So it sounds as if, as far as proceedings in the chamber are concerned, we can adjourn them until after lunch.
Indeed.
But between now and lunch, we will undertake this exercise that you're going to take us on. And when we come back, if you will be kind enough to give a verbal description of what happened, so that it can be on record.
Indeed, Chair.
Right. Very well. So we'll adjourn the proceedings in the chamber until after lunch, which I take it.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just want. Maybe it's my fault, but I was not aware of the Nyala inspection. Is this an invitation to everybody?
Look, it's obviously got to be an invitation to everybody because they can't take us privately and show us something that you haven't got a chance to deal with. And if it will be dealt with in the evidence, as I suspect it will be, you have to understand it and be able to deal with it in cross-examination if you consider it necessary.
Thanks, Chairperson.
So I take it that's clearly right, Mr. Mende, isn't it?
Mr. Mpembe is most welcome to have the
To the
experience.
Nyala. I've been there before, Chairperson. But
I'm not sure that you've been been with the Nyalas and Wyatt Trailers before, Mr. We are both going to be educated this afternoon, Mr. Mpembe. Yes, I've been asked to adjourn till 2 o'clock. It seems sensible in the circumstances. So we'll adjourn now, as I've said, until 2 o'clock as far as operations of the Chamber are concerned. Those who wish to accompany us and Mr. Semenya and his witnesses and assistants to the building next door to see this very interesting and important demonstration are welcome to do so. It's not obligatory.